Yay! Live. Here I am. Here we go. Uncle Mo. Yeah, I've done that before. I'm here. I just got started. Who else is here? Nobody. Nobody's here yet. I think I'm going to have either no one or my usual suspects, which is fine. I don't really care as long, I'll just talk to myself. I really don't care. But folks, we are moving ever so closer. But yeah, there we go. All right, there we are. There he is. There's my guy Berea, the one, the only. Yo, we got to get on when I'm streaming one of these days. If I'm playing an online game, you got to get on with me. You have to, whether it's during the day on YouTube or it's at night on Twitch. During the day for me or night for me. I don't know what your. Would you have a different? I'm Eastern Standard Time. Would that be any different for you? Because we got to stream together. Like I got to have you on. I just feel like it's something that needs to happen. Hey, you never know, maybe with this game, because there are a lot of online features with this new Star Fox. But it's Friday. It's kind of hit or miss whether or not it's going to be nice today or getting some rain again. But yo, rain, a lot better than snow. Let me just tell you that. I don't know if where you live, but yeah, you get snow. But if you don't get snow, consider yourself fortunate. We had a terrible winter here. So you want nothing to do with that. You want nothing to do with that. It's horrifying. But it's Friday. And we've got a lot to cover here. I just gotten word. I had already made it known because of everything that's been discussed on the internet. You know how much I love that. I already let it be known. Do I have been? No, that's just my, okay. I thought I had a schnot. But I had already let it known and made it known to myself that I was going to talk about Star Fox. So as I was saying, I was just sitting in my living room watching the 87 NLCS, which is far better than any baseball, if you can even call it that, today. Miles beyond what they do now. And my usual routine now is that I check my Nintendo application because they always have a list of what's going to be going on, the events. And I looked and it said a Star Fox Direct. I went, what? What the hell is that? So after I was done, this was, of course, Wednesday, and I have to go to the gym the next day. After I was done with my live stream, which Twitch did not archive for whatever reason, and told me that in fact, I should probably check Twitch and see if they archived my stream last night, because they made it seem as though due to copyright infringements on playing Fallout 4, I had to do something or verify something or whatever. Never had a copyright infringement claim on Twitch. Never happened. Here, happened all the time. Twitch, no. So unfortunately, I can't live stream Fallout 4 with the radio playing. So now I can't listen to any of my songs like, whoa, Pete, love that beat. He's hacking and whacking inside. I can't listen to that anymore. Let me just double check 1 second. But I'd seen the Nintendo Direct that they were talking about with Star Fox. So immediately I was saying, all right, well, we know how this is going to play out. Somebody's going to say some shit, because when I first saw it, why are they not, they're really not archiving my games here. Is it just they're not archiving them? Because they're saying that there's no stream here. Oh, God, I got to do something. This is ridiculous. Anyway. But I think I got to change settings or whatever. But like I was saying, I saw the Direct and I was impressed. I couldn't get over how it looked. It looks amazing. And I know what Star Fox is. Now, I'm not a big Star Fox fan. I played the first one, which was back on the Super Nintendo before everybody was going with the polygonal thing. It was sort of cutting edge in that sense, that it turned a bunch of elongated rectangles into something discernible to fighter piloting and all that stuff. And it was fun. It used to archive it. According to OBS, I'm streaming, so it's not like I'm not streaming. It's just it used to archive it, but I think because of the whole hit, I'm gonna have to make sure that it does it again. But yeah, I'm talking about the streams I did the night before. It stopped on the copyright claim. Yeah, I know. Like after a while, they'll disappear, but they're supposed to keep the ones from at least up to 2 months. Do I want to do this now? I don't want to do this. I'll do this now. I don't like things lingering. So anyway, so I saw I was very impressed, and then immediately it becomes an issue. But like I said, I was not a Star Fox type. I've only played the first one. I played a few times. The second one, which was Star Fox 64, I don't think I really played it. I know that. Hold on, let me get my settings. I know that it was the most popular out of all of them, but I never actually got into it myself. All right, let me take a look at this. Channels and video. Okay, so let's take a look at this. What's going on here? What are you doing to me? Stream key. Yeah, you didn't give me any of those. It says it's published. I don't know what the problem is here. Raise permission. Trying to figure out. Sorry, 1 second. But hold on. Okay, right. But like I'd seen it and I said, well, wow, that looks really impressive. And I always mentioned the main reason why I was really invested in the Switch 2 was because I wanted to see what Nintendo was going to do with that technology. Oh, yeah, no, you definitely got to be on. I got to get on there for one of these. But yeah, so I was watching it and it looked very impressive. I kind of initially was disappointed when I found out that it was not a new game, that it was a re-release, because I think Star Fox Zero was kind of a re-release. Oh, all right, cool. Yeah, here's your, I guess this is your account. I got to go open that and I got to probably do that later. I'll subscribe. But when I found out that it was that's not it? Okay. Well, let me get the link and I'll subscribe. When I found out that it was going to be the re-release of Star Fox 64, I was like, all right, whatever. That was the most successful. But it's so funny because the talk is that somehow Nintendo was trying to throw people off balance because of Nate the Hate. Nintendo is a Japanese company. They don't give a rat's ass about Nate the Hate. Okay? They don't. They did what they did when they found that they had enough to ensure there was a release date and they could put together what wouldn't give away too much of the game. That's what they did. That's what Nintendo does. They didn't say, hey, we're going to announce something in April. Oh, wait, Nate the Hate said that, well, let's just hold it off. No, that's not how Nintendo operates. Okay? Because people were talking about a direct at this time and a direct at that time and everything like that. And the directs typically came, but they weren't the directs people were talking about. There was also mention of a Nintendo Direct that was going to be the big one, which was supposed to proceed following the Partners Showcase. That never happened. And it's not because they're holding back to make Nate the Hate or anybody of that caliber look wrong. It's because of the fact that that's not how Nintendo operates. So now they had an investors meeting. It turns out what we already knew is factual, that as of, I think, April 30th, the Switch 2 has sold over 20 million consoles. They're averaging over 2 million consoles per month still. and it's going to keep going up. Now, there's a problem, apparently. And this is once again, when I say there is no reason why I should take somebody seriously just because they're either self-deprecating or because they destroy a company or whatever. Okay? You have to do this now. Fucking shit. Can I tell you, man? This has been one of the most obnoxious. There's no leaf out there. There aren't any leaves. Stop leaf blowing, please. There are so many noise polluting forces of nature happening around not my neighborhood. Well, my neighborhood, yeah, because I hear sirens all the time. But my apartment. I had the assholes upstairs taking 3+ days to redo the kitchen floor. And let me repeat, upstairs, floor. So I've been hearing banging, slamming, because we don't hire people in the United States that are professionals. You have to have slave labor, which means that you got to hire anyone that's cheap and hope for the best. That's what the United States does. So nothing gets done right here. So instead of people that know what they're doing and got the job done quick, when most human beings are working, I'm not most human beings, instead, throughout the course of 3 days, we're throwing shit off the balcony upstairs. It's not even a balcony, it's a walkway. And slamming on the floor constantly, banging on the floor to the point where yesterday, while I was eating my lunch, or Wednesday while I was eating my lunch, I felt the floor in the kitchen shaking. You don't have to bang on the floor that hard to put new tiles in. If you were putting in new floor panels, you wouldn't have to fucking bang that hard. Yeah, this society. Oh, we're going to get deeper into this. Don't forget, I've got my extraordinary friend Scott from Suplex Music that loves when I go off on this fucking society, and I'm going to, because I'm getting to this point. So the whole concept of me trying to prove my value as a critic when I do nothing but state facts and give you my opinions by saying, in my opinion, or through stating who would appreciate a game or a movie that I had just endured, encountered, or even enjoyed. So I'm telling you as a fact, Nintendo is the best gaming company of all time. It will always be the best gaming company, because if the competition is Microsoft and Sony, well, Nintendo wins by default, because those are the two biggest scumbag companies out there in the first place. So when Player Essence, who's a guy that I don't mind, although he does give me a lot of rumor bullshit and not fact, when he makes it as if it's a big deal that the Switch 2 in September was announced, it's going to go up to $500. What is it, worth $130 now? It's worth $450. People are paying $500 anyway in order to get that with Mario Kart World, which last I checked, according to the internet, was a whole lot of nothing. It was $80, which he complains of too, as does Nintendo Prime. They complain about the $80 price tag and all this other stupidity. When it comes to pricing, let me just explain something. Yeah, let me just explain. Nobody in the real world cares. Okay? Nobody cares. People are going to buy the Switch 2 anyway. You know why? Because if you want to play video games, it's the only place to go. Your choices are Switch 2 with the Nintendo exclusive. He can start that whole, well, I'm not happy with everything Nintendo does bullshit, and that drives me nuts. I don't want to hear it from him or anybody else. Stop it, okay? I can take you seriously whether or not you appreciate the price. And let me repeat this one more time. You are all wealthy. You cannot be an influencer on the internet starting from zero. I am total 100% living proof that all the talent in the world, having all the charisma, everything, the good looks, all that I have, and the knowledge, and doing the work, it doesn't fucking matter when you start with nobody. When you're poor and you start with nobody, you have no chance. I'm begging for 800 subscribers. These guys had 100,000 within the first couple of years because they have friends in high places, connections, and the money to surround themselves with toys. Some of these guys have kids, and they're just wrapped in Pokemon paraphernalia, comic books. You're grown men, right? Some of these guys are older than me, and I'm a caveman. So the concept that I would put in my room, you know why I put that hanger over there? Because that's where I put my work shirt. Okay? I want you all to see how fucking poor I am. Do I give a rat's ass about a $500 Switch? No, I don't. I didn't give a rat's ass about a $450. Don't talk for the poor. You're rich. It makes no difference to you. And when you're talking about how you bought a PlayStation 5 Pro for $700 last year, stop whining about a $500 console. Now, I know what he's doing. He's trying to speak for everybody as he's displaced from the reality of everybody. And he's trying to act like he's Mr. Nice Guy by saying, I don't agree with it. I, the poor man, don't care. You know why? First off, I already got mine. Secondly, which I paid over $500 for because I got that in 2 games. Secondly, I also got a warranty, a 1-year insurance plan, which granted me a free cover for the portable, which I don't use because I don't play portable. I just play docked, because it's not a hybrid. It's just a portable. Okay, whatever. I haven't played it as a portable once. So don't know what you're talking about. But he's trying to sound off the concept that he agrees with everything big corporations do. I work for a big corporation. And the big corporation treats me like a fucking mule, as they treat everybody. They'll screw with your hours, take away some, give you those you didn't ask for. They'll screw with your scheduling. They won't pay you full time because they don't want to afford it and they don't want to give you insurance. And they keep screwing with people's hourly pay. So I know what corporations are. The last person that speaks in favor of a corporation is me. But do me a favor. Before you complain about September's price increase, which is not going to make any difference, especially by September, because the games that are going to be out and the games that are going to be coming out by then will make everybody want to buy one. Makes no difference. Okay? But do me a favor. You start your own corporation. You make your own video game consoles. You make your own video games. And you tell me how you're going to be able to compete and sell when you're charging $150 on the consoles and $30 on the games. I hope I'm preaching well for everybody. Because as I mentioned, unless you want to get an Xbox Series 1, X, Z, sometimes Y, that nobody even buys, that you can only play digitally and doesn't run well, and is Microsoft, you're not going to get a cheaper console. You're still not going to get a cheaper console. And just in case you're wondering, not for the majority of the people that buy Nintendo consoles is it because it's cheap. Okay? Nintendo wasn't always the cheapest console. The reason why people buy Nintendo consoles is because they have the best exclusives by far and some of the third-party stuff, which, by the way, is expanding. So games that you're going to have to spend $70, $60, whatever dollars on, a console that costs still $200 more than the Switch 2, most normal human beings will not get a PlayStation 5 or go $1,000 plus on a PC or anything related to PC just for those flavor of the month throwaway titles that are akin to what you see being released every week on the Switch 1 or Switch 2, the card games or the hentai card games or some simulators that are pretty decent and another 10 million fucking Dark Souls ripoffs. They're not worth it, okay? You get Switch 2 or Switch 1 because you get the Nintendo exclusives. And the Nintendo exclusives are kicking ass. So there's no excuse for why $50 extra should just destroy the sales of the Switch 2. It won't. It'll make no difference. Maybe a little bit of difference in the sense that they'll have less sales throughout the months leading to the holiday season and more sales on the holiday season because most people that are in my position will wait for a Christmas or something like that to get it. But when it comes to people like Player Essence or like VodVita or any of the influencers, you guys will spend thousands of dollars on PC gaming and editing software and pay staffs. You don't have to worry about an extra $50 on a Switch 2. Please stop. Please stop. Don't patronize, okay? You don't speak for the poor because you've never been there. So don't try to act like you're talking for us. You're just trying to save face. When you complain about Nintendo increasing the price by $50, I don't care because it's still cheaper than everybody else and it still has the Nintendo exclusives. If you got a problem with it, get a Switch 2 now and you don't have to worry about it. And here's another thing. The Switch 2 is totally, seamlessly backwards compatible. Seamlessly. So you can trade in your Switch. I tell this to my friend all the time. You can just trade in the Switch ones that you have and get the Switch 2. You'll save yourself like $250. So even if it's $500, you're not losing anything. It makes no sense to me why you would keep your Switch 1 and try to combat the concept of getting a Switch 2 when you could just trade the Switch 1 in. You won't lose anything. You're only keeping the Switch 1 for nostalgic purposes. The Switch 2 plays all the games that you have, more of the exclusives that are coming out or have already come out, and above all, plays them 10 times better. So why keep the Switch 1? Why? Makes no sense. Trade it in if you got a problem with the price, or stop bitching about the price, or just don't play video games. When synthetic wannabe man makes you look like a buffoon, you got problems. And in his most recent video, which was about Saros, another Biz Marquee, House Marquee, exclusive by Sony, because Sony doesn't make games. Sony outsources their exclusives to, Naughty Dog or Santa Monica or the Japan studio. I guess the Japan studio kind of counts, but it's not like when Nintendo makes Mario. I know Nintendo somehow has Monolith Soft figure in to the Breath of the Wild, some of the games, the Zelda games, everything. But Nintendo games are more or less made in Nintendo. There are companies like Monolith Soft. They did have Platinum for a while, make games to them exclusively, like Astral Chain, which does not have a sequel that I'm aware of in the Bayonetta games. But for the most part, in retro, for the most part, Nintendo makes their own games. Sony does not. Sony has other divisions make the games. Same thing with Microsoft. They don't make their own games. And their exclusives suck ass anyway, so what does it matter? But I just love how they're making a huge deal about the $500. Whatever, man. Nobody fucking cares. Look, I'm sorry to explain this to all of you, okay? Video games are a fringe enjoyment. You keep saying this to you. They're not art. They're not awe-inspiring. They're not meant to move people. They're not meant to change the world. They're meant to sell fun. That's what they are. That's all it is. Sell fun. It's like sports. It's like board games. Sell fun. That's all that matters when it comes to video games. Did you have a good time, sir, madam, son, daughter? Did you have fun? Because if you didn't have fun and you wouldn't do it again, then it's a bad game. I don't care what it looks like. I don't care who the director was. I don't care how the voiceover acting was. If you didn't have fun, if by the end of the game you felt it would be better for you to walk into the oncoming train and wait for it to hit you, then you didn't have a good time. Now, whether or not you were inspired by the voiceover acting, because that's all it is, none of these video games really have good stories if you look at them. That's all it is. They're video games, man. They're not to be taken so fucking seriously. This is why the first thing that you say when you talk about the success of a game is how much money did it make? That's not art. Sorry to tell you. And it's not meant to be art. So you can't in one breath complain about the AAA industry going to hell, and in the next breath talk about how there's no heart and soul in it. There was never any fucking heart and soul. Shut up already with this, you pretentious, self-righteous cocksuckers. Okay? The only heart and soul is in the money you make. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Midway really was putting so much of their heart and soul in making a fucking Mortal Kombat game. Seriously? God. Just because the voiceover actors were giving it their all doesn't mean that the fucking developers were giving it more than what you need to make a game. It's a game. Okay? Calm down. You like it, you don't. It's not a testament to who you are or what you're about. If you like the damn thing, you don't, whatever. And another thing that you have to understand is whether or not these people want to act as though the video game industry is the most popular industry, no. You're 10 billion% wrong. It is not the most popular. It's not gaining any ground. Video games didn't start happening 5, 10, 15 years ago. I'm sorry to explain this to all you guys, all right? There was a planet called Earth that existed long before we did. And lots of things happened throughout the course. Whether you want to acknowledge it, anything before your birth or not, video games have been around since the 70s. You can push and say even the 60s. Hell, Nintendo was making Game & Watch games in the 70s and arcade games in the early 70s. So the idea that this is a new thing, no, it's not new. It's been around for a very long time. But do me a favor, interview 100% of the human population and ask them in every country, whether it's a first world superpower or it's barely hanging on by a thread, ask 100% of the human population, you ever seen a movie before? I guarantee that at least 40% of 8 billion people have seen a movie. If the Switch 2 sells more consoles than Sony's bullshit sales numbers that they just conjure up from thin air because they'll give out their $5 worth of material, $10 worth of production, garbage consoles to anybody, that they'll give them out to fucking lemonade stands and then say, look at all the sales. Yeah, nobody brought them home. Okay, take it easy. But if you go and look at all the highest selling consoles in the history of consoles, this isn't even considering people that may have bought 2 or 3 or forced to buy more than one because of the total consumer-friendly aspects and production concepts and everything of Microsoft and Sony. The total amount of people that have played video games is probably about 200 million. That isn't even a fraction, a hairline fracture of the human population number. So no, I'm sorry. More people have televisions, more people have seen movies, more people have played sports, more people have played board games than people have played video games. You are a fringe enjoyment. Have fun and move on. That's all they're supposed to be. I trade these things in constantly. I have like a barter system with GameStop. When I'm done, done. Trade it in. There are a few beauties that I'll keep, like Donkey Kong Bonanza, Metroid Prime 4, and all that. But I'm not keeping the game forever just because, oh, it moved me to a bigger house. Yeah, I don't give a shit, okay? It moved you because you're pitiful. No offense. You're a pitiful person. You need more to inspire you than a fucking video game, okay? And you should call to task, and I don't say what you should do, but it would be better, especially if you're complaining about the AAA gaming industry dying, which it's not, it would be better for you to call to task the originals, the original wannabe sob story, garbage, visual trash that companies like Sony would produce, like Uncharted, The Last of Us, God of War, all that other stuff that put the mechanics and the challenge in the rear view mirror behind the storyline as they lazily attempted to sell a product based on cinematics and, oh, by the way, voiceover acting. That would be in your better interest because Nintendo's destroying these companies, and apparently they're selling tablets from what people make it out to be. I loved when somebody was questioning why anyone was buying the Switch 2 because of Pokopia. And then Tomodachi Life came out. And now it's even worse. Because these are games people want to play, especially here in the United States where life will always be miserable here. So why not engross yourself in something that's not reality? And that's really what video games were meant to be. Fantasy, not reality. Not grounded in realism, relatability, all that other dumb shit. You're supposed to be having so much fun you can't even contain yourself. So let's revert back to Star Fox, because this is what I know Maria is going to love. And this is something that it makes me realize how ridiculous the influencers, YouTube, social media is. It's all reactionary. None of it has any value whatsoever. So Star Fox has a direct. I'm going to pre-order it. I'm going to get it. I'm going to pre-order it when I go to pick up Tales of Arise, because gas is like fucking ridiculous in terms of price, like everything else. I can go into the politics and the stupidity of the United States and its so-called bipartisan bullshit, but no matter what the price of gas is, the cost of living goes up, for reasons that don't make any sense. But gas, let's just say a video game, movie ticket, whatever, was a lot cheaper than it is now. Gas 15 some odd years ago was even more expensive per gallon where I live than it is now, but it's still pretty damn expensive. So I conserve gas like a mother hen conserves her fucking eggs. I will not drive if I don't have to. So when I go to pick up Tales of Arise, I'm going to pre-order Star Fox. I'm going to use those GameStop cards I couldn't use before when I was trying to get the $100 for Elden Ring Tarnished Edition. Whenever that's coming out, June. I'm saying June. But I saw the trailer, I saw the direct, everything like that, and I was impressed. I was really impressed. And then I heard the Discord. And what are people saying? Now, I want you all to understand something. When it comes to Star Fox, and it comes to the success of the Switch 2 thus far, this game better sell over 6 million copies. It better. Okay? I know it's a Switch 2 exclusive. Star Fox 64, which is based off of, was a Nintendo 64 exclusive, and the Switch 2, in less than a year, has sold almost as many consoles as the Nintendo 64 has in its entire lifetime. So if the Nintendo 64 can sell 5 million copies, the Switch 2 should be able to sell at least 6 million. I'm going to tell you why. Because whether or not it was the rumors or what have you, people on social media who are influencers who have everyone's attention were making it seem as if a Star Fox game wasn't announced for the Switch 2, that the earth would explode, that all hell would break loose. They were like practically demanding that it happen. I'm saying, why? For Nate the Hate? For his credentials and credibility? Or for the sake of Nintendo Switch 2, which they've been screaming doom and gloom since its release, and it keeps proving them wrong. Still, 20 million plus consoles sold by Nintendo's rather conservative estimations, which typically don't include online sales for whatever reason. I'm sure they do. Just saying that they're very conservative in their sales numbers, the ones that they release. But with everyone screaming and yelling about the Star Fox game that has to come out, now that it was announced, I want to see it outsell every other one. You know why? Because you can't make it seem as if this was something everybody wanted when no one really demanded it. And oh, by the way, Star Fox 64. None other Star Fox series game has sold. Okay? Not the 2 GameCube ones. Not the Wii U one. Now you could say, well, those consoles didn't sell a lot. But neither did the Nintendo 64. All right? Now, granted, Star Fox Adventures was supposed to be another game. They just, like with Metroid Prime, they said, well, why don't you change it to a Star Fox game? And they did. And it apparently failed miserably. I saw a walkthrough of it. It looked interesting. It wasn't something I would associate with Star Fox, but whatever. It had a chick in barely any clothing with a nice body for a fox, I guess, whatever. But be that as it may, Star Fox does not sell. In fact, the other 3 or 4, if you add all the sales together that they had, I think it might equal Metroid Prime 4 sales. So we're talking about a series that has been on hiatus because no one buys the games. So don't act like, because you know what they're trying to do. What they're trying to do is they're trying to set this thing up so that if it doesn't sell, stop fucking buzzing out there. If it doesn't sell, they can say, oh my God, doom and gloom for the Switch 2. No one's buying the Switch 2. No one's buying the game. Star Fox is supposed to be a big deal, blah, blah. Star Fox isn't a big deal. But this is what really makes me laugh. So some people that try to justify and rationalize their buying, they're throwing money away for a PlayStation 5 or whatever, Xbox Series, whatever. They'll make it seem as if I can't play a fantasy-based video game unless everybody looks real. It's got to have that realism to it. The graphics have to look real. Why? So you can justify paying so much money? Graphical production. I can have a game that looks real play on any console, more or less, outside a fucking CD-ROM. Okay, Nintendo 64 can make games or people look pretty real. Not necessarily real, but whatever. GameCube could do it. But I need it to be real. I need it to be wrapped in realism. Okay. So let's look at two games because anime doesn't turn anybody on that's into video games. Let's look at two games that are Switch 2 exclusives or Switch exclusives. One of them anyway. Metroid Prime 4 and Star Fox. Now, Metroid Prime 4 Beyond is the best Metroid Prime game ever made. You can try to argue that point. I've said this before. I will undress you. I will humiliate you if you try to argue that the first, second, or third Metroid Primes were better than the fourth. You're out of your mind. The backtracking was done better. The fact that without adding anything and without giving you full detail, you could see where all the items were if you want to 100% it, and I still didn't 100% it. The concept that driving around Soul Valley to pick up green crystals was such a waste of time. If you do it while you're on the way to places, you probably lose about an hour, hour and a half at most. And you're fighting enemies, you're unlocking secrets, there's other stuff going on. It's not just one big, what was that again? Loading screen. Yeah, it wasn't a big loading screen. Sorry to tell you. On top of that, it was a Switch 1 game. So yeah, there were running screens and everything that looked like loading screens. There were loading screens, but you saw Samus doing whatever. You saw how realistic it looked. And that was a Switch 1 game that got a Switch 2 upgrade. Could you imagine a Switch 2 only, what it would look like? Well, here's an example. Star Fox. The new Star Fox game makes these bipedal humanoid animals. You can see the detail in the feathers and fur. They look so friggin' precise. They look like animals who just suddenly got sentience, put on clothes, and started walking on their hind legs. It's amazing, the detail of these creatures. Incredible. The details of the R-Wings, the details of all the enemies. It's incredible. Metroid Prime 4 Beyond got nailed immediately upon showing a direct for it, or a 7-minute piece, because of one character, Miles McKenzie, who takes up maybe an hour of an 8 or 9 hour campaign, 14 if you don't know what you're doing. And that includes all the times he gives you suggestions as to where you need to go next. And you could skip that, by the way. You could just keep pressing B. Yeah, whatever, dude. I'm not listening to you. And there were far more obnoxious characters in games that were lauded from AAA titles that spent a lot more time in the game. Loki, for instance, in the God of War games. That little fucker I wanted to strangle to death, and he wouldn't shut up. But very few people complain. It was like everybody with more than 6,000 subscribers on YouTube had something to say about Miles McKenzie. And everyone that was talking about how it wasn't that good, Miles McKenzie would be on the thumbnail every time. So there's a realistic game that was great that people killed for a character and a Soul Valley, neither of which were anything close to as egregious as they made it out to be. So here comes Star Fox. Looks pretty damn realistic to me, right? Realistic looking animals? Yeah, it's animals and they're flying ships. But No, it's that fucking kid. I couldn't stand. You know what you want to do? Go back and watch my walkthrough of that game. I couldn't even lose my temper without freaking out that I was going to go on a killing spree. I was so scared of myself by then because of my midlife crisis. Go back and watch my walkthrough of that. By the way, all you guys are going to be going through that. Some of you women too. Go back and watch that and see the end of how I was freaking out about California cunts and how they think this is how every kid should get rewarded. I went nuts back then. I couldn't even imagine what I would be doing now if I played that game. I wouldn't last 5 minutes. And that was back when I didn't have the job I have now. So I wasn't making like any money. And every dime I spent was like from either birthday money or Christmas money of the past year. Oh, yeah, no, I got the whole walkthrough. It was either that or it was money that I saved from when I got tips from years before. Like I had no money coming in. And so every game that I bought was like, it was an investment for me back then. Now I don't give a fuck. We have $70, whatever. I still have cash for Christmas and tips, and birthdays, and Easter. But if I have to throw out the credit card, yeah, here, boo. Boom. There you go. Pay it off right away. But they go on about realism. This game looks realistic. It looks incredibly realistic. And what's the Discord down? They're ugly. Oh my God. They're so ugly. Why are they ugly? Because they're fucking animals. That's why. You want realism, right? Have you ever seen a 5 foot plus tall talking fox? Pretty scary. But they don't even look that bad. They look incredible. They're ugly. People are freaking out what they look like. Meanwhile, the original advertisement, they were people in costumes. So now what you're saying is in this highly anticipated Star Fox game that all, 6 titles have sold a combined 8 million, 9, maybe 10 million copies? It's not even like 2 million per title, and the bulk of that is carried by the first 2. This highly anticipated game, it needs to be anime? Okay, so let me ask you this. What's the problem with Xenoblade Chronicles then? Xenoblade Chronicles has far deeper stories than anything AAA titles have created. Xenoblade Chronicles has far better gameplay. Xenoblade Chronicles has an open world light map that has a lot more going for it. Xenoblade Chronicles, I'm talking about all of them, not just the first or the second or the third or even X. All of them. So damn addictive in your leveling up system and building up your characters. All the stuff that you do in a role-playing game that's fun, Xenoblade Chronicles does it so much better. Why don't you play Xenoblade Chronicles games on? Oh, because it's anime. So you don't like anime games and you don't like realistic. Well, you just don't make any sense to me. Yeah, I want to get my games back. I still have the first one, which is my least favorite, but man, I got to get X back. I got to get X. I would get online with you. I got to get 2, and I've got to get 3. Oh my God, do I love 3. 3 was so great. The only issue I had with 3 was the pigtail Irish chick that was freaking out about how she wanted to be cloned again. I'm like, sweetheart, why? Why? Because you fuckers didn't treat me seriously. Whatever. You know, every anime's got to have that character. I don't know why. I let her get away with it because it was a woman. But it's better than Erica and Celica from Shadows of Valentia, where they, or Shinon, whatever her name was, Shion from Xenosaga, where I will allow the universe to explode just to save one fucking guy. It's better than that. But that whole, but there's a villain thing that I just love latching on to. Why? Reincarnating and fighting an endless war does what for you? The whole idea is freedom. 3 was, aside from that though, 3 was fucking incredible. 3 was incredible. But nobody takes it seriously. Gets like 8 ratings out of 10, 80. Why? Well, it's anime. Now you don't like anime. But you wanted Star Fox to be anime. You make perfect sense. but cartoonish, not so much the first one. The first one was just a 16-bit game. But even Star Fox 64 wasn't like totally cartoonish. It wasn't like Conkers or whatever. There was some semblance of realism to it, some gravitas, but suddenly everything's ugly. They should have gone with it. Should have gone with a more animated look, right? Then you really wouldn't have bought it. So I'm just curious. As I said, I want to see all these wannabe fans because the United States runs like, as I mentioned this before, a schoolyard where the rich kids are the cool kids and everybody wants to do whatever they say. The only problem is the influencers on the internet, they're very fickle and they only spout out what is reactionary. They don't have any realism to what they're saying or doing. They have no clue what they said 5 minutes ago. They don't care. And everyone that follows them, they don't know what they're talking about. Like you're just following somebody else. I laugh at people that are Star Fox fans. How many Star Fox games did you play? See, I'm not a Star Fox fan. I'll play Star Fox, but I'm not a fan. I've played 2 or 3 games. I like them. I've played every Metroid game at least once, except for Return of Samus and the re-release on the 3DS. The reason why I haven't finished the 2DS is I got a hard time playing Game Boy games. I'm sorry. I really do. I got a hard time playing Game Boy games. Maybe I'm spoiled by graphics, but I always had a hard time with the bichromatic, I don't know what I'm doing, I don't know what that's supposed to be, look of the Game Boy. And even on my TV, I really would have liked them to do the Game Boy Color transition of that because the original look is just, I don't know what I'm doing. I keep trying, I'll keep trying, but I played the first one. I played Super Metroid. I played Metroid Dread. I played the Metroid Other M, which was a very underrated game, which nobody liked how Samus didn't talk in Metroid Prime 4, even though she's never talked in the Metroid Prime games. But then Metroid Other M got nailed for her talking too much. So which one is it? But whatever the case, I've played pretty much every Metroid game. And I've played them at least once because I love Metroid. I've played every Xenoblade Chronicles game. I've played at least once because I love Xenoblade Chronicles. The only reason why I haven't played every Shin Megami Tensei game is because I didn't know about it until the 5th one came out, and I haven't had access to them. When I had the 3DS, it was a very short time. I didn't even know about it. But I've seen walkthroughs of all of them, and I want to play them. The only Fire Emblem games I'm going to play are the ones I never had access to. So Genealogy, the original Gaiden, 3. I never played Binding Blade, which I would love to play. Other than that, and Radiant Dawn, because I didn't know about it on the Wii either. Other than that, I've played everyone at least once. See, because I'm a fan of the series. But people that like 1 or 2 entries of a long-running series and act like they're the biggest fanatics, you got to take a walk because you don't know what you're talking about. You're not a fan. You're a wannabe fan, and that's pitiful. So anybody that wants to act like they've been waiting all these years for Star Fox, you have not. You're lying. You're jumping on a bandwagon because a bunch of popular people online, they were talking about how this was being announced thanks to the movie. And now that it got announced, people are going to react. And the anti-Nintendo bullshit is really getting on my nerves and under my skin at this point. I'm really sick of it. Because now you're just doing it for the sake. It's like you've drowned, right? You jumped in the pool before the Switch 2 came out, and you're swimming nice. And then the Switch 2 came out, the storm fell on you, you fell underneath the water, and you were trying to slosh your way through it. Every now and then your head popped up, but then you got sunken back down. Now you're on the bottom of the ocean. You are turning into bones. You have no basis for your argument, and you're still trying. It's over. You lost. Move on. Okay? Either jump on the bandwagon or stay the hell away. Because you're an idiot. You sound like an idiot now. Somebody was trying to say that no one's buying the $70 games by Nintendo on the Switch 2. Pretty much every game now is going to be $70, but unless it's an independent. But let's ignore that for a second. Why is it CD Projekt Red had a report stating that the $70 Cyberpunk 2077 game had sold 10% in less than a year of a 5-year-old game was sold on the Switch 2 if $70 Nintendo games aren't selling? What is the highest selling game since its release last year? By far, Mario Kart World, $80. And let's just say for the sake of argument, yeah, but people bought the pack. Okay, you bought it with the add-on and everything. How many people bought that bundle? Even if you said half, it's over 7.5 million people bought that game. Donkey Kong Bonanza, Donkey Kong, not a huge series. Sorry to tell you that. Not a huge series. It's not even like a Donkey Kong Country game. Sold about 4.5, 5 million copies. How many Switch 2 versions of Pokemon Z through A have sold? It's got to be a lot. How much does Pokemon Pokopia cost again? I don't think it's $70. I think it's like $60, but whatever. Even so, what games that are Nintendo released that cost $70 on the Switch 2 are not selling? What, Mario Tennis Fever? It's not a big series, sorry to tell you. So you're wrong. So stop talking. And it's just so, the internet is just such a funny place. It's its own ecological system. It's this tight-knit circle of like-minded buffoons that think PC is God's gift to humanity. Everyone that plays it is, a walking deity, and nothing else matters. And you couldn't be more wrong. But we're going to see what happens from this point on. I'm still assuming now that they had their investors meeting and they have announced the amount of consoles that have been sold, more or less. I'm smelling a direct sometime in the near future, maybe in the next couple of weeks. And I still think that despite the announcement of another Nintendo exclusive in Star Fox in June, I still believe that Tarnished Edition is going to be coming out in June. So I still believe I'm going to hold on to that. We know that Splatoon Raiders is July, right? And Fortune's Weave, Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave has to be, I think, is Splatoon Raiders June? I think it's June. Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave is either going to have a Nintendo Direct of its own that's going to be like, hey, it's coming out in like 2 seconds, or it's going to be part of a Direct. I don't know. The Direct, I think, will be more about other companies than Nintendo itself, unless it's a game that nobody knows is coming out. Like maybe an Ocarina of Time re-release. And by the way, the Star Fox re-release now, what it possibly opens the door to is the reality of an Ocarina of Time and a Super Metroid re-release. If those two games got re-released on the Switch 2, you will hear screaming from my house. Okay? You're going to hear screaming. So we'll see what happens with that. I will say, look forward to a Nintendo Direct within the next 2 weeks. Most likely before the end of May. Maybe they'll wait till June. But I still believe that Tarnished Edition, you're going to get more information of that in the next couple of weeks. And I believe it should be released by next month. And I believe that Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave should be getting released sometime in July or early August. But we'll see. July, okay, so Raiders is coming out in July. All right, so then we have room for another Nintendo exclusive next month. Nintendo is going to space it out where every month there's going to be an exclusive because they're smart. All right, so tomorrow I will be, of course, doing my thing on my Long Plays channel. If you want to subscribe to that, it's, what is it again? Hold on. Let me go over here. Still got to figure out what's going on with my fucking Twitch. But anyway, it's CD Switch only book plays or something like that. But I am just playing through Skyrim right now on that. And of course, I'm gonna have my live stream on my gaming channel tomorrow. I'll be back on here next week with another live stream. Until then.